Last time, we cleaned up our code by creating the write macro in our IO file, which is great, but now we have an IO file that can handle the O, which stands for output, but cannot handle the I, which stands for input. To fix this, we will be creating a macro called read, but before we do this, let's look at the layout of the BSS section. The BSS section is similar to the data section, but you don't declare a value when creating the labels. Instead, the labels point to areas of memory that are automatically set to 0. To reserve room in the BSS section, you write a label followed by a colon, the size of the data to be stored, and the length. The size can be a byte, word, dword, or keyword. The length declares how many of those to reserve. Here's a simple example that reserves 1 byte, giving it the label char. Then, we set up the registers for the read syscall. The syscall number for read is 0, so RAX will hold 0. RDI holds the file descriptor for the file that you are reading from, but for the console, we will set it to 1. RSI holds the location where the characters will be stored, and RDX holds the number of characters to read, which will be 1 because we just want to read 1 character. Let's now create a macro called read, which will take in 2 arguments, the address to store the characters and the number of characters to read. We'll update the macro to set RSI to argument 1 and RDX to argument 2. Now, returning to our original program, let's make it to where the program asks for a character and then checks to see if it is lowercase or uppercase. First, let's remove char from the data section and add it to the BSS section, because the value is unknown until the program runs. We'll also add a string to the data section that prompts the user to input a character. At the beginning of start, we will first use the write macro to prompt the user. Then, using the read macro, we will store the first character that the user enters into the address in memory pointed to by the label char. The rest of our program will run the same as before.